Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Debrief podcast. This is Airman Jance, joined as always by Colonel Baker and Chief Flores, our 97th Air Mobility Wing Command Team, and we have a very special guest this afternoon. We have Chief Shelly Jarvis from our small but mighty med group here on base. Welcome to the show, Chief.
Thank you.
Yeah, but we'll bounce right into it. Command team, how are you gentlemen doing?
We're great.
Yeah.
It's podcast time. We've got Chief Jarvis with us. It has been a rapid fire 2 weeks. It's been absolutely full throttle between Commander-in-Chief Installation Excellence Award site visit. So we're in the running for the top two in the Air Force. We think we're the best in the Air Force. We definitely have the best airman mission and facilities, and we put our best foot forward. So we're excited about that. And then we rolled right into a visit from our 19th Air Force Commander, General Stewart, along with the 18th Air Force Commander, General Martin, as well as a competency summit where our operations group was mapping out what competencies our flying training unit is going to need so we can orient to the China challenge and make sure that we're training for the future. So it's been a crazy, awesome 2 weeks. What do you think, Chief? It's been fun.
Yeah, a lot of senior leader engagements. And from my perch point as the command chief, it's just advocacy. That's all that I see is folks are coming to show an interest and they want to understand the greatness of our mission, our airmen, and they walk away with a few nuggets to try to go carry the water for us at a higher level. And so you have a great little way to put that.
Yeah, we say senior leader interest leads to advocacy. Advocacy leads to progress. Progress leads to resources and care for our airmen and families. So it's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, so for our airmen out there, it's not just a dog and pony show. There's a means to an end with these visits.
Yeah, it's perfect. And they care. They're great Americans who really care about airmen and families here. And speaking of some of their highlights, we're over at Small But Mighty Town, our 97th Medical Group, Chief Jarvis.
Absolutely.
You took a few folks through there, didn't you?
We did. We took Colonel Dykus and then Chief Aptekar and General Stewart came by, and they ate some bugs and they used drunk goggles, and it was a great time.
Sounds like hazing to me.
Oh yeah.
Fun hazing.
Our Med Group is a place of great excitement and fun,
Yes.
and you got to show off a lot of your great airmen and great initiatives. There is definitely an energy that really hits you when you walk in. It's a very positive energy. And how many times have we been over there, Chief, where we've walked in there and we walk out with our batteries recharged, and I look over at him and I say, you can't fake that. Cannot manufacture that on the spot. It either exists, it's part of the culture, or it's not. So it's really remarkable. I don't know what y'all are doing over there. What's the secret, Chief?
Drunk goggles and
Eating
doing
bugs?
tricks and eating
too many
bugs.
bugs. I see.
No, we just have
Simple
great,
formula.
just good airmen. Just it's super simple that they're motivated and they inspire me. So yeah, they're just good.
Hey, Chief Jarvis, can we get a brief introduction into who you are? Where did you come from? Tell me, if you can, why did you join? When did you join? Give me a little background on who Chief Jarvis is.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Pocahontas, Arkansas. So in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, which is actually not too far from here. So about 6.5 hours. I've been in the Air Force. I just hit 25 years not this Saturday, but Saturday before last.
That's huge. Congratulations.
Thanks. It goes so quick, right? It goes so fast. 1 minute I'm marching on the wrong foot at BMT, and then the next minute I'm a chief sitting here doing a podcast with the Wing Commander and Command Chief. So that's pretty cool. So I am married. I have 2 kids and a dog. And my family's still in Virginia, right? When I PCS'd here, my family stayed in Virginia. Why did I join the Air Force? So I lived in Europe by myself at age 19. So I got to travel all around and do a lot of really cool things. But then I kind of needed to do something else with my life, and I wanted to go to college. So I thought that the military, I'd been around the military forever. My dad was in the military. And so I just thought it would be a good stepping stone for me for 4 years. Right. And here I am 25 years later.
That's how it happens.
It is for sure. For sure. Yeah, that's really it. I'm a dental hygienist by trade.
Okay.
I've been a dental hygienist since 2008.
So I am curious, you were running around Europe. How did you end up running around Europe? So your dad was, you said military. What branch?
So my dad was in the Army. My dad was actually a warrant officer in the Army. When he retired, he...
That was my mother.
Yeah?
Yep, retired CW3.
Okay,
Chief
mine
Warrant Officer.
was a 2. So my dad actually went to E8 and then became a warrant officer.
Same with my mom.
See, look at us.
Wow.
Maybe
Those are-
are we related? What's going on here?
Long-lost brother and sister here.
But yeah, so my dad, once he retired from the military, he got into the GS system and he worked for Army Missile Command. And so when I was a senior in high school, we moved to Ramstein.
Okay.
And I did my senior year of high school there, and I really, really enjoyed it. I met my husband at that time. And when my family left, I went with them for a little while. And then I decided that, yeah, I wanted to move back to Europe. And I did. And I was young and I was broke, but I lived in Europe and it was amazing.
What were you working odd jobs, or what did you
So
do?
I worked for NAF so I could
Yeah.
get an ID card.
Yeah.
So I worked at the rec center there. And then I worked at the deli at the commissary for a while so I could make ends meet. Yeah, I was broke.
I've been to that deli before, by the way.
It's
That
nice,
that
right?
was the place back in the day. That was the place. It's really neat.
Yeah, it's cool. The cool thing about that, though, is my daughter graduated from Ramstein High School as well. So that's not something with military families you see that often. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I love living in Europe.
That's incredible. I love those stories of the jobs as you're coming up. I have this theory that I think everybody in America should have to work what I call an arduous job. I think everybody should have to work one. It just gives you the appreciation for
Right.
for working hard and for having to really log the hours, and appreciation for other people.
Right.
Weren't you a sandwich artist, sir?
I worked at Subway. I started out as working in catering, and which was a really hard job in high school. You got to work. You work to the bone, and you're not always treated as well as you'd like to be in those service positions. So I think you learn a lot.
You do.
You learn to have perspective and treat people with respect when you're on the other side of the coin. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I was a karaoke hostess.
Oh,
That was good time.
so this means you can sing.
No,
Would you like to
absolutely not.
demonstrate some?
No, absolutely not.
Just in case singing host.
So you bounced around Europe for a while
I
and
did.
then decided.
25 years later, and it's funny because it came in open general, but I wanted to be a dental assistant. That just really always was, it was a cool job to me. And so I thought I was going to be security forces. I actually did, because I came in open general and I got the job I wanted, and that was it.
It's funny how that happens. You go open general, and then all of a sudden you're assuming security forces, but all of a sudden you get something just an outlier. It just happens to come up, and
Right.
look at that, crazy.
And nothing, so not that there's a stigma with security forces, but I knew what I wanted to do. But if I couldn't come in with a guaranteed job, right? And I knew that from being at Ramstein, I knew that security forces, they have a hard job. And it's not like dental assistants don't work hard, but, I didn't want to be at the
Different
gate.
kind of hard work.
It is, absolutely.
But I wanted to ask you a question. You're the Med Group superintendent now. You've been a MAGCOM functional manager. You've been a superintendent for a number of squadrons. How did your career as the squadron superintendent, the MAGCOM functional manager, how was that transition into a Med Group, a group superintendent? Was it easy? Would you say you kind of just fit in really, really easily, or were there some challenges from going from, say, a squadron level to a group level?
Yeah, so I've been lucky in my career, and I've had the opportunity to actually fill in for a number of group superintendents, and I actually was filled in for about 4 or 5 months at Ramstein as a group superintendent, and that's massive. And luckily, while I was at Ramstein, I had really great chiefs that worked with me as the squadron SELs, and they taught me a lot. So coming here, I kind of fit in right away. I think that they were a little bit surprised by me and how I operate at first, but I think that
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
so somebody told me once I needed to have enlisted calls all calls right away, because my standards were very, very high. And so I did, but my standards aren't high. I just enforce them, right? And that's the difference. And so I think it was a little bit of a surprise in the beginning in how I operate, and I'm very blunt, very honest. But yeah, no, I fit in pretty quickly, but it wasn't, I had to because of Omicron. I got here on the 3rd of January, and Omicron just spiked immediately. And I didn't really even have a chance to get to know my commander. We had to work together. It was super simple. And the way that my group was introduced to me was really, okay, how do we do this? How do we fix this? Right? And there were a lot of them that got sick. And how do we take care of our patient population, our beneficiaries, and half of them are sick. And so we jumped in, and anywhere that we could, I helped as well. And so I think that kind of created that bond in the beginning, because they knew that I had their backs and that I would work with them. So it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that difficult.
Nothing builds a team like shared adversity. Overcoming adversity is really where teams, you talk about that deep trust. When you can overcome something challenging like that, it really does bring a team together, assuming that you're successful and know where. And I was here, Chief and I were both here, Chief Flores and I were both here when y'all fought through Omicron. And the Med Group was really the heroes of that. We had case numbers in a day that we hadn't seen in months combined. I just kept fighting through it. It was incredible.
That was an interesting time. I mean, Joe Stewart hit on it. That was the first time that medical they were the lead unit in the fight. And to hear the stories, right? Like their group commander took on secretary role, essentially all hands on deck to whatever it took. And it reaped benefits. I mean, 95% we were able to maintain our flying where it needed to be. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah. I thought it was cool how y'all adapted in the middle of it too, changing the whole testing program. And y'all never ran out of supplies. You never ran out of tests. You tested the whole time, and you kept the functions up to service the population. It's amazing. Yeah,
the amazing thing about how we changed our testing protocols was a tech sergeant who came up with that. Mm-hmm. Right. So they presented it, a tech sergeant and a staff sergeant presented it to our executive staff. And, we decided, well, what can it hurt? Let's just try it. And it worked very, very well. And it was so cold outside. I remember that. And I remember walking out and checking on them to make sure that they were okay, and just being like, man, these guys are rock stars. It's freezing, and they're constantly out here because cars were just backed up, so far with patients needing to be tested.
So this is the debrief. What would you say? What's the biggest lesson you learned from that time as a chief or a leader?
Oh man, that's a great question. I would say words matter, actions matter, right? When we had people getting sick, we couldn't afford to lose any more people, or we had somebody who had worked so hard and so many hours that she was spent, and you could see it, and you could see that she wasn't doing well. So we asked her to take a knee to go home. Mm-hmm. And she was one of our driving factors in how well everything worked out, right? She was a key player in testing everything, and telling her to go home and giving her that day or those 2 days to kind of recoup and gather her thoughts. I think that it really helped. And, she actually was not going to re-enlist in the Air Force, and she ended up doing it. And that was one of the driving factors of her doing that. And, that's awesome because we retained an amazing airman. So I think that actions and then words matter. It's not what you say sometimes, also it's how you say it. Mm-hmm. Right. And if leaders panic, our airmen panic.
Yeah. You just can't as a leader. And there's that, we've talked about this in previous debriefs. I've never, nobody wants to follow negative energy. There's always a place for optimism. I think, we've talked before, there's a time and a place for at that moment, at that precise moment, to be honest with a team and say, hey, this is going to suck for a minute or two. But then there's always a path to a better place, I think. And, that's it. You hit on like a key thing of leadership. No matter how bad it gets, it's okay for that. When it's bad, you can't tell your team in a sucky situation that, hey, this isn't a sucky situation.
Right.
They're just not going to respond well to that. But you can level with a team and say, you know what, this sucks right now, but here's the plan. We're going to fight through this, and we're going to come out in a better place. It sounds like you did that. And the other thing we talk about, Chief, is deploying the speed brake. And I say this a lot, but I've realized one of the things I've learned in command is I will often say, hey, the squadron commanders are the speed brake. Deploy the speed brake if you need to for the pace and the tempo of your unit. Come up on the net. Let us know if you need to take a knee. But what I found is sometimes you have to be the speed break because our airmen are so mission focused that they won't do it. And it's not because they're maybe even under overt pressure. It's internal pressure. And they will not allow themselves to employ speed break. Just like you said with your superstar. You probably told her, hey, when you need to take a break, take a break. And,
Absolutely.
Or him, her, him. But they just never came up on the net because they're working so hard. So you did it.
Right. And even when I asked her to go home, I told her to go home actually. She said, well, I just have to finish a few things. And I was like, no, you don't have to finish a few things. You need to go home. And so she said, okay, give me 5 minutes. And I said, okay. And in 5 minutes, I went back and walked her to the door because
that
she wouldn't have left.
Was what she needed
did
to get back in the fight. It's incredible.
This is awesome. We talk about this show, that coach versus cheerleader, and balancing, pushing our folks because there's a mission to get done, but knowing when to roll them in. But from afar, there's two things that really stood out from my perch point to medical group. One is they probably define what a multi-capable airman really is during that 3 months, because of necessity. All hands on deck. Who needs to do what? We just need to get the mission done. And the other part is leading by example, right? No job was too big or too small for any of our folks, and I think that's the most powerful thing a leader can do is lead by example, lead with action. And like we said, sir, or you like to say, yeah, it sucks, but they want to see your leader up front in the trenches with you when that matters. And I think everybody did that during that time for over there. It's definitely a proud time to be an airman. I remember being on the crew side. I mean, we were showing up. There was 4 crews, and people were falling out for every crew. And there's a person with a little board just putting crews together, just get the mission done. That was a special time. I look back and I rejoice in our airmen's will to get things done around here.
Same. It was impressive. Lots of admiration for the team and getting after it. And you're absolutely right. They have to know in those moments that everybody is going to roll up their sleeves and do what needs to be done.
That's right.
From the top to the bottom. So that's a little bit about that. Hey, this isn't going to be fun at this moment in time, but we're all in it together. We're all rowing in the same boat. You got to demonstrate that. It's perfect.
I think what's also cool is rallying cries. You got to have a rallying cry. And, hey, Chief, so you arrived 3 January?
I did.
When was the wing award ceremony? Because I think that's when we got the big unveiling.
I feel like it was in May or April or May.
It was in February.
February. So
it
a
was
month.
in February.
So what's your guys' rallying cry over there?
Shots.
It's accurate.
And it's got the little pill bottles too.
We do have the little pill bottles. Yeah.
There's a lot of exciting energy in the med group.
Whose brainchild was that?
Mine.
Oh, wow.
Imagine that, right?
I think was that the very first award ceremony, and did y'all win the Spirit Award on that one, or was it the next one?
So it was the annual awards where we unveiled that, and it was the with the Spirit Stick. It was, I think it might have been maybe 2. Yeah. 2 afterwards. But they bring it. We're such a small group, but my airmen definitely bring the energy and the fun to me, to my job, right?
And they're pros too. Yeah. It's unbridled energy, but it's always highly professional. I was thinking when Airman Carly was Sergeant Carly, Airman Carly. She operates like an NCO.
She does.
When she was walking General Stewart and the team through the med group, and how poised and polished she was in that delivery, and it wasn't scripted. She just knows the business inside and out. She knew every turn to make, exactly where the handoff was going to be. It was just incredible.
She's a superstar for sure. She did work really hard on that. But when we did our practice runs with her, she had it down. I know that when I walked with her, because I was one of the last people to walk with her before, the actual visit, I was so impressed. I couldn't believe, that she was operating at that level, because I don't know if as an A1C I operated at that level. So she's very impressive, and she's always positive and has the best attitude. Most of them are there. It's easy. My job is easy.
I love that word, positive. I think that's a choice. That's a decision you make every day. As opposed to happy, that's fleeting. You can you go in and out of that phase, but positive, you can that's a mindset that you bring every day. I definitely demand of our airmen. I know you demand that of your airmen, but it's interesting. I think when we had our immersion with medical group, it was awesome. But I think when you came into the mix, there was a certain level of pride that went up over there.
What do you do to drive that? It really is. This goes back to what Chief and I were saying. You can feel it when you come into the medical group, and you can't manufacture that. So where does it come from?
I think that we give them affirmation on a regular basis, but we also give them standards and discipline, and we talk to them about how important their jobs are. I think one of the biggest things for me as a leader is I really like to have fun. I love to have fun. I love to laugh, and my commander does as well. And I think our airmen can feel that. Part of it also is just letting them get to know you and being authentic with them. That authenticity goes a really, really long way. Going to visit them and just walking around, not just to check a box, right? Not to check a box, but to have them know that you truly care about what they're talking about and how they feel. Shots. That makes a difference too. It has to be fun. Yeah. Otherwise it's work, and it can't always just be work. Yeah. So
well said. And
I think in our business, I say that, and I hope that we lead in the way that you're leading. That's the goal, is to, it should be, the nature of it should be fun, and it should be rewarding. You can keep it on the side of professional and have a heck of a lot of fun doing what we do.
Right. And I think that, when the suck does come along, if they generally like what they do and they're having fun, then when that suck does come along, it doesn't sting as bad.
That's right. They can persevere.
Absolutely.
Because again, they know what's on the other side.
Right. A little bit more resilient.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I like to say, what do you do in the 99% of the time there's no crisis? Yeah. Are you building a team?
Building the foundation. You're laying the foundation.
Yep. So when you do hit that mark, you can get through it because your team trusts you.
Absolutely.
So what are we going to call this? The Altus effect at some point?
What?
Oh, yeah. It's a thing. I think Chief's got part of the story. She's got part of this. She's definitely has part of this Altus effect story.
Right.
Because if I'm not mistaken, were you jumping over the moon when you got?
Of course he was.
Altus?
With anger. It was because I was so mad.
Was this your geographic coordinates of choice?
Absolutely no. I actually was not due to PCS at all, actually. And so I had just gotten an extension to stay where I was in Virginia, and 2 months later, I got a phone call saying that I was going to start interviewing for positions. And, I interviewed with Colonel Rattan, and we hit it off. I knew, right? I expected that phone call. And so my family and I decided that if I were to get selected for the position, that they would stay in Virginia and I would PCS here, knowing that there was a very good chance that I'd be heading back to Virginia within 13 months to become the CFM for my career field. And
which you are set to go do.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But I got here, and it was January 3rd. It was freezing. It was so cold. I'll never forget how cold it was here when I got here. Right? I thought, wow, isn't it supposed to be warmer here? And it was windy, very windy. But once I got to the med group and Omicron kicked off, and I got to know my people really quickly, I started to kind of like them a little bit, right? And I always tell them, man, I wish I didn't like you.
I want to be mad.
Right. And it was very quickly after that, I realized that this is not even close to the worst assignment that you can get. This is actually probably, besides not having my family here, one of my favorite assignments. I will say that. Yeah. If my family were not in Virginia, my daughter just started nursing school too, I would absolutely bring them here and stay here. We have a great community. Yeah. I love this community. They're very accepting. And then my leadership and, this wing is a great wing. I've had opportunities here that I would never have any other place. I was talking about the fact that I rode a horse.
Cattle drive.
For official duties,
duties, right?
With a sanctioned, approved approved,
Right.
wing approved cowboy cowgirl.
Right. I never thought that I would do that while I was in the military, but it was so cool. It was so cool. I went to a powwow.
Yeah.
And Colonel Hollister and I were honored at the powwow, and that was amazing. This is just a great place. It really is. I would come back here in 2 seconds.
That's awesome, Chief. And you had some great commanders too.
I have Colonel Rattan. She was awesome. She's very sassy, very, very, very spicy.
She may listen to this.
Judy Rattan.
That's right.
We're here to assist you with all your medical needs. Love that. I missed that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, she was great. She and I became pretty tight. One of the things with her is that, and I think it's with any leader, when they trust you and they put faith in you, I don't think that you can go wrong. And same thing with Colonel Roberts. I absolutely love working with him. I'm going to miss him and his family.
Yeah.
And this family, the wing family, it just in general, I've had, it's just been really good, just really great. And my airmen. And I think that that's probably what I'm going to miss the most about being here is having airmen and having the chance to sit here with airmen, right? Officers and enlisted. I will absolutely miss people coming to my office and saying hi and crying even sometimes, right? Needing a hug. And I guess I'm a hugger now, I guess. I don't know.
Altus did that to you as well, right?
Made me a hugger. Absolutely.
Making the impossible possible.
For sure. And the first time, somebody starts to cry, I'm like, I don't know what to do with you. And they start stepping towards me and I start stepping back, right? No.
For our listeners, it looked like she was holding a baby on
And
her
that's really what happened. I put my hands on their shoulders and kind of, no, we don't do that, right?
Well, Chief's self-deprecating a little bit. You definitely have that coaching, that arm around the shoulder, warm side to you.
We were talking about it before we walked in here. There was an NCO that was leading some event here, and Chief was filling in for me as a command chief. And I heard the whispers afterwards that Chief knife-handed this poor NCO. But when we debriefed, it turned out you just held him accountable. He had no plan. He had really he had a vector, but he didn't follow through with this side, and you held him accountable. And one of our guiding principles, accurate feedback, always. Yeah. So I think it was a rude awakening, and he's better for it now.
Professional, fair.
He's better for it. So.
Right. And I've seen him since then and waved and whatnot, but I think he was pretty upset. But one of the biggest things I think as a leader is empathy, too. And when you're at that group level. If you have great squadron SCLs, your job is a little bit more fun and you get to have that empathy for your airmen. And that's something that I didn't always have. I was very much a knife hander, but as I think I've matured and grown into my stripes, I think that empathy is huge. And I love when they come to my office and my airmen need a hug, it's the fact that they're coming to me.
Yeah.
To get that is huge.
I just had an epiphany. That's the other power of having a strong network. The fact that the way the Projo took the conversation and the feedback, the way he felt, was quickly diffused when I talked to him because he trusted me a lot. He knew me a lot longer, and I was able to speak to your good leadership, a good name, and he quickly, okay, well, if you're telling me that, then I'm going to believe it. Which goes to show, right? Like when we may not have the best interaction with somebody, you hope your network can share what you really are about to help regain that credibility in that member's eyes. And I think we got there.
Yeah. I think so too.
Yeah, I love the overall kind of thing you're describing across the privileged positions that we all have, and that's the airmen are the source of energy. These jobs are, of course, they're arduous in some ways. They're hard and challenging. Everybody's job's hard and challenging, but contact with airmen really puts gas in your tank. It charges the battery up. It's amazing to see people come off the staff and have contact with the wing because you can just see them light up. In fact, when your boss got here, when Colonel Roberts got here, and he was coming off a really hard job on the staff that didn't have high contact with airmen, and the staffs are great, doing great work, but the contact with airmen part, and you could just see him visibly change from the interaction with the airmen that he had, and it was amazing to watch him. He's fired up.
He is, and he loves being with airmen. Actually, right before I came over, we were walking around and talking to airmen, and it's just like I said, it's fun. They bring a smile to our face 9 times out of 10.
9.7 times out of 10.
9.7 times out of 10. They're just amazing, and I'm definitely, like I said, that's what I'm going to miss the most.
Yeah.
Having airmen right there. That's going to be hard.
Well, maybe at some point in the future, you'll rotate out of your CFM job and into a command chief job.
Maybe.
We'd love to see that, wouldn't we, Chief?
Yeah, I mean, she made the list this year, and it goes to show to her immense talents. I mean, you look at her records; it was all postured for future functional manager gigs. She came here, hit the ground running, did an amazing job for our wing, put on a lot of really cool things. Our first SEL offsite was you at the charge, and we pushed. I mean, this is the first time you got pushed for Stratted to get pushed for command chief, and lo and behold, you got picked up right away. So, but you had a hard decision to make, and I know your family's. I mean, that comes first. So,
right.
It was easy for you, but obviously it was hard for us to see that such a talented leader goes back to that side. But we understand. It was interesting when I first met Chief Jarvis. She was telling me about her MFM gig, and she stays in some random building, and it was during COVID, so you can't really get a lot of FaceTime. And what really stuck out was when she started talking about airmen and how she lit up every time she got to go visit bases and see them. And I thought that's going to be a good leader that we have here.
Thank you. I definitely, I wouldn't change my time here for anything. I actually wouldn't. I would do it exactly the same.
So are you going to leave kicking and screaming? Is that the Altus effect? Is that what we called it? I know you want to get back to your family, but from an airman perspective, it sounds like you're going to.
Absolutely.
It's going to be hard separation.
It is.
I think.
It is. And as time gets closer, it becomes a little bit harder for me. It does. I have had a couple of airmen deploy and had to say, hey, I'll see you later, right? Because when they come back, I won't be here. I had an airman, Airman Campbell, talk to me on Friday and say, Chief, I'm so sad. You're going away in like 3 weeks. And I said, it is in 3 weeks. She's like, who's going to look at me with those eyes? I was like, oh, I'm sure you'll do something and somebody will look at you with those eyes. It's fine. Right. But
speaking of great airmen, she's one of them.
She is.
You've got some really great airmen.
Wing dorm with a quarter.
Yeah.
Baking cookies, right?
Yes.
I had the opportunity to sit with a staff sergeant today who I was going to mentor. Right, we had lunch and it was, hey Chief, will you do an exit interview with me and let me get some mentorship? And it turns out that he mentored me instead, and I will miss that also.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
That was our first guest ever, Scotty Shoemaker.
It was. Yeah, who's off to
future lieutenant.
Yeah,
Shoemaker.
Yeah, he finally has his class date. I think he leaves this spring.
He does. I think he leaves in March. It's a few weeks after I leave.
It's amazing how fast the world moves.
It is, for sure. He, he said a few things to me and just talked about legacy, and what his legacy, what he wants his legacy to be, and then what mine would be, and it was, for me, as I made a difference, the difference. Right. And even if I left here tomorrow, I feel like I made a difference for my airmen and hopefully other airmen across the wing. That's the most important thing as a leader that you can do is make a difference and a positive impact.
Stats matter. How many quarterly awards you won? In one quarter round.
Let's not flop that around in here.
So,
okay.
So Chief Flores likes to call me the Al Bundy of quarterly awards.
4 touchdowns in one game.
So I will just say that since I've been here in a year, we've won about 12 wing quarterly awards, which is pretty cool.
Doing good. Punching above your weight. Small but mighty town, as we call it.
They absolutely are. They are. They're a good group. I will cleaning out my office. I'm not doing it.
That's funny.
See my Sergeant Sutton as he's filling in, he's gonna have his little unicorns everywhere, and
I was
Wonder
expecting
Woman.
to hear like I started last week. It's almost. I said, no, I'm just not. Doing it.
No, I've really not. No, all my Wonder Woman stuff is still up, so that's what he gets to look at for a minute.
Does you have any? I feel like your moderator duties are easy today.
They are.
Yeah, we didn't even ask the normal question because we've been going back and forth so much about how Jance is doing, and he's got the cup. He's got the Minnesota cup.
He's wearing a turtleneck this time.
He's got a turtleneck.
Interesting.
That's like a cowl neck.
It's a neck gaiter.
Oh.
You say it's a little cold outside. You know, you lose a lot of heat in the neck.
I guess so. It looks like
It's
a cowl neck OCP top.
Edgar Allan Poe had one very similar to that.
No, I'm doing very well. I appreciate you guys asking me. I mean, besides the weather, you know, the weather's been kind of hectic, but you guys mentioned the sync visit, which went well for us as well in the PA office. We had Colonel Barrington drop by the PA office. We got to show off our morale paintings of SpongeBob. That's what we do to boost morale.
That's
sometimes. Awesome. SpongeBob paintings. I had the opportunity to showcase. I set up the podcast and I showcased it to her. She was super hyped about that. We talked about that. No. And then we showcased what we do for the wing. You know, what we do as PA, which I got to talk about our TDYs we get to go on and how that helps us in the future fight, and you know, showcasing to somebody in China and Russia who's watching Altus Air Force Base, our page, showcase what we're doing here in the mighty 97th.
Our podcast is a matter of national security.
Yes.
And you get to interact with all these great leaders and chiefs.
Yeah. Yep. And then we had the MAF Mobility Air Force Competency Summit this last week. That was another great opportunity for a bunch more DVs to come, and 18th, 19th Air Force generals. I mean, holy cow, what a heck of a 2 weeks it's been for the entire base, just nonstop. And guess what? We're not going to slow down. We got DVs coming in left and right, and events coming up. I mean, we've got. I already saw Legacy the Spear was on the calendar. I'm like, oh my god.
That's April, so that's a little ways off. We're going to be good.
These last 2 weeks have been busy.
Yeah.
Like probably the busiest I've ever seen since we've been here in our year and a half.
I think it was the highest RPMs that the team has had. On the mission side, the team's always crushing it, getting after it. On the hosting side, and again, this is all for great purpose for airmen. Yep. It's that interest in advocacy and resourcing and care for airmen and families. So it's been really heavy lift. So I couldn't be more proud of the team. The feedback we got has been tremendous.
Well, it's cool. So remember for the quarterly awards what I told you? I was worried about where our airmen bring the energy after we wrung them out for the last 2 weeks, and that was the best quarterly award ceremony I've been to.
I think they have, and I noticed this throughout the Sync IEA and beyond, that they have more energy. Somehow, it just they keep finding more.
And maybe we're just old.
They're more fired up than I've actually ever seen in the command. We're gonna miss you.
I will miss you guys as well.
We're gonna be kicking and screaming. That's the Altus effect.
Can I ask you what stood out to you about Chief Jarvis when she arrived in her leadership style or any other areas?
Yeah, a lot of things. What I noticed right away, I say this all the time, and the senior NCO Corps is the heart and soul of any unit. A unit that's failing and flailing, I look at the senior NCO Corps. A unit that's thriving, you almost always find a very cohesive senior NCO Corps. So I definitely would say senior NCO leadership right off the bat. She mentioned her connection with Colonel Rattan, so that ability to be the guidon bearer of standards and discipline, but also that translation of the commander's intent down and in, and making sure that down through the SELs and at the flight levels that's getting communicated, because you can't fight through Omicron without a very strong senior NCO, SEL leader that's keeping all that stuff together. So I absolutely could visibly see what was going on there. And so I just saw great senior NCO leadership, period.
Thank you.
That's the way I can say it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Earned.
Thanks.
Awesome. Incredible.
Yeah.
We're going to miss you.
Chief Jarvis, before we close her up, one of my questions I wanted to ask you, and Chief Flores, I don't think I've ever asked you this, but for some reason I thought of this. Have you ever been tempted to commission at one point in your career?
Maybe right after I went to dental hygiene school. Maybe. But, I will tell you, people have always asked me why I haven't. And I love being a Chief Master Sergeant. That's awesome. I would have had to commission the public health service also because the Air Force doesn't have officer dental hygienist. But no, really, I love being a senior NCO. Once I got out of dental hygiene school, I was a master pretty quickly after that. And that feeling of what you're responsible for at that point is huge. It changes you. I think, people always say, when did you join the Air Force? And I can say, 1998. How old were you? Were you born?
I was. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad I look younger than I actually am. Thank you, Chief.
But so for me, really, it was when I became a senior NCO. I think I always held the Air Force, near and dear to my heart and loved being an airman. But at that point, when I put that Master Sergeant stripe on, I was a very different, it hit me different, right? The responsibility was immense at that point. But no, I've really never thought about commissioning.
Nice.
Great. Over to you, Chief Flores.
Commissioning?
Yeah.
So I always tell our FTAC airmen, I enlisted to not go to school. I'm an inner city kid, and school is not important to me, but the Air Force has a way to make you a lifelong student. I think I've shared a couple times. I have a master's and my bachelor's, and I love learning. As a matter of fact, if I won the lottery, I just go audit courses at universities all day. I'm a podcast junkie and all that. But no, I think at one point when I was at the top of my game as a boom operator, being air crew, watching the pilots fly and some of them super inexperienced, I thought, no matter how good I get at my job, I'm never going to command my own cockpit. That was the only time I thought, I need to go be an officer. So I actually looked into being a warrant officer in the Army to go fly helicopters. And then I made senior, and that dream quickly went to the wayside, and I wouldn't change a thing. We had cadets not too long ago, and they were, one of them was kind of complaining about, always being told what to do and not being trusted. And I said, that's humility. To me, that's the ultimate level of humility, when you can, for us, always be the bridesmaid, never the bride. You're always going to work for a boss. And I think, can you still be influential? Can you still lead in that capacity, regardless of what kind of boss you have? And the answer is absolutely. You better figure it out based on what Colonel Baker always likes to tell his big three that he expects from his squadron SCOs or above. So no, I love this. It challenges you as a leader because you're always going to work for somebody in your direct chain, and that's okay. The beauty is when you can find a lot of influence based in that. And it's not always about the money. When I talk to my young folks about going to OTS, I really nug down on, why do you want to go do this? Is it for the money? Because, in fact, once you make enough, it shouldn't matter anymore. It's more about purpose and what's your end game when it comes to that. So no, in conclusion, not really.
So me too. I did the same thing.
Yeah, and I'm too long-winded to be an officer, so.
I don't think that's the case.
And then I get to work for amazing bosses like Colonel Baker, and Chief Jarvis gets to work for amazing bosses like Colonel Roberts, and it's really neat to really be an ambassador for your position. With Chief Aptekar here, we talked a lot about be relevant. We fought for this for a long time. For a very long time, you never heard the command chief's name or the chief's name. They're there in the background, and we're okay with that. But now we're earning our place on the mailbox, and that's important to us. The coolest thing ever is when Colonel Baker put the command chief's name on the jet, and it was powerful, not for me, but how long we come, and it's important us to continue to carry that. Sometimes you got to know whether it's the first, gal in this duty or this other duty, how important your role is there, and sometimes going the other road's not going to deliver on that.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what you were asking me, Chief, about Chief Jarvis, and what did you see? I definitely saw a chief who was the foundation to strengthening her commander, strengthening that command team. You're the rock of that command team. So it amplifies and provides that foundation, that platform for everything to happen. So that's fundamentally what I saw when Chief got there, and you do a lot of that same thing.
Oh,
what
sir,
did you notice about it?
Oh gosh. So one, I think week 2 she was already blowing up my phone about how this ain't right, and it wasn't. And I listened. Past the sass, I listened, and sorry, Chief.
The sass.
Well, the passion. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. Past the passion. I like, hey, fight to listen. Heard her concerns, and she was absolutely right. And I said, okay, let's change it. And I think we built trust very quickly on that. But then other little things. You notice in small group, right? Small group. It's just us who always stood up to talk to you.
Yeah.
From the
outside.
Her
Your
decorum.
professionalism is absolutely world class for sure.
In our watershed moment, there was she was pretty animated. Her and her previous boss got along really well, and I think they had a very free, open relationship. And I noticed some dynamics that I thought, you know what, there's nothing wrong with it, but I think we can get better. And we had a little conversation about it, and she totally took the feedback and optimized. And that's when I really saw, like, boy, she's a good chief. That's really what I walked away with. Because sometimes, like, man, long in the tooth or doesn't want to change now. She takes the feedback from everybody and will incorporate it.
Still growing.
Yeah, still growing.
And we all are, for that matter. So
Right. I think that as a leader, if somebody gives you constructive criticism, you actually need to take a step back and get past whatever feelings you might have against it. But look at yourself in the mirror, and if you can see anything that they are saying in that mirror, then you need to fix yourself. Right. And when Chief Flores, kind of said, hey, maybe you can do this differently or you can do it better. I thought, man, I actually do that. And so I changed it. But, one of the things with calling you 2 weeks after I got here and telling you that I didn't feel something was just.
Lots of passion.
Right. Lots of passion. The thing about it is that it was heard and changes were made. And I felt like I truly made a difference. Yeah. Right. So that legacy, making that difference, and it affected our airmen and it affected them in a positive way.
That's awesome. And it is, I take the same tack. We're human. So sometimes you get feedback and it stings a little bit. I mean, if you really are at the next level where you can take it and it doesn't even sting when it's maybe about some idiosyncrasy about yourself or you, then good on you. But that's a really hard place to get. But I do try to, regardless of the delivery, always try to look for, is there a thread there of something that is valuable, regardless of how the person delivered it. And I know y'all talk amongst yourselves very, I think matter-of-factly among chiefs, I think that chiefs pride themselves in direct, kind of unfiltered. But even when it's not that kind of professional feedback, sometimes, I've gotten feedback as a wing commander that I didn't really particularly like the level of professionalism with which somebody delivered something. But there's been several of those where it's been delivered in a way where I didn't really appreciate, but when I actually dig out what they're saying, there's actually something valuable in there. And it's actually led me to think about things in different
Substance over style.
Substance over style. Yeah. And, I would encourage people to always be respectful and professional because it's a more effective way to communicate a message. But I would rather figure out more about what's going on and how to change and make a difference than not know at all.
Sure, I think that's what you're really good at, though, is teaching people. It's not about kissing up or being politically correct. It's about what gives you the right to get your voice. And I think the lazy answer is, I'm keeping it real. But no, the challenge is, can you speak in a way where people want to listen? And I think you're really good at giving feedback in that area to make sure that, hey, you're forgiving and you're going to listen to the substance over style, but many people won't. They're gonna shut down the second your style sucks, and you're trying to help us get better and making sure that we communicate effectively. Because at the end, a lot of airmen are depending on that voice. So I think that's the one thing that I've gotten a lot better at because of you.
Well, I've been learning too, and I know some of my tells now when I'm getting feedback, and one of my tells when I'm not receiving it as well as I can is my first response is to be dismissive. Then now it's a tell for myself. Now I'll go back and go, yep, I'm being dismissive. I'm not liking what I'm hearing. So right. Now there's a place where you're dismissive because maybe just, and I don't mean dismissive in the sense of stop talking to me. I just mean, hey, maybe that's not the right idea at the right time. So there's a nuanced difference. But if I'm doing it out of principle, and I don't think I do that a lot, but I have caught myself from time to time.
Absolutely, it's human.
Mm-hmm. You have a great way to describe it. You say there's certain things you cannot give oxygen to.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of it's the peanut gallery sometimes, but I think you're really good at that. Like, this is when it's obviously way out of left field and we're not going to entertain that. I'm not going to give it oxygen.
Yeah. Well, speaking of giving oxygen, Chief, do you have your closeout? Do you have your closeout questions? Some oxygen for Chief Jarvis, who has probably administered oxygen many times.
And nitrous. No, I'm just
But so, Chief, this is your time. The floor is yours. Bid shout outs, number one. Definitely give some shout outs. If you have any questions for us, this is your opportunity. And if you have anything that you just want to throw out there, by all means.
Oh, wow. That's no pressure at all, right? None. I think that I've said a lot as far as the Altus effect, right? I will tell you that the group of chiefs that we have here on this base are absolutely amazing. There's something about chiefs. I could meet a complete stranger, and if they're a chief, they're not a stranger any longer. That's what we do. Right. We have each other's back. And I think that that's amazing. My med group, I will miss each and every one of those airmen in there, even the ones that sometimes have a little bit more difficulties with their lives. And I have to say, get your life together on a regular basis. But my commander and my SELs, I have absolutely loved working with them. Colonel Roberts, he's not medical any longer, right? His AFSC used to be medical, but it's not any longer. And to have somebody coming from that operational side back in and realizing what kind of airmen that we have also is amazing. So I will miss him, and I will miss his family. Quite a bit as well. They're amazing people. And as far as just this place in general, it's so friendly, and I'm not going to go back to that because I'm going to the DMV area and they are not friendly there. That is for sure. And then this command team as well. I've had opportunities here that I wouldn't have had maybe anywhere else. With both of you, Colonel Baker and Chief Flores, and then with Colonel Brady Lee as well. I've covered for Chief Flores a few times with Colonel Brady Lee, and I've definitely enjoyed it, and we've laughed. Mm-hmm. Right, we've laughed and tried not to get ourselves fired, and it has been
did a great job.
It's been great. But I guess the biggest thing is that make Altus what you want it to be. You have to make it to be what you want it to be. And so if you are here and you don't go into the community and you don't try to make it fun, it's not going to be fun. But if you open your eyes and you see all of the greatness that it has to offer, then it will be one of your favorite places as well. And I can't even believe that's coming out of my mouth right now because never in a million years would I say that or would I think that I said that. And so one of the things that I'll also tell people is it's one of the best kept secrets in the Air Force, right?
Here.
I wish I could write a job ad for this job and to say,
you just did.
There it is.
It's great. Some of the best people in the world are right here. Mobility's hometown, right?
That's right.
Right.
What is it? A city with a future to share?
Yeah.
And our PA SEO back there does a really good job narrating that. So, and shout out to him. He just found out he got an assignment in Nassau, in Dakota. I'm sorry, and I think he's contemplating trying to turn it down to stay here longer. Altus effect.
I don't know if he's going to go that far.
Right.
I think he's giving us the.
But gentlemen, do you have any closing comments?
This has been a great. I love these. You learn so much about the great people we have around us. We appreciate you, Chief. You've really been there. Our run here, and for a large part of it, and for a really, really tough part of it, fighting through Omicron, fighting through some of the different different challenges we've had. And you've been right there every step of the way. So you've been an amazing teammate. We really appreciate you. We are going to be sorry to see you go. It'll be a great opportunity for somebody to step up, and I can't wait to see where you go in our Air Force. So no doubt you're going to kill it as the CFM, career field manager, and then cycle back. And I hope you stay all the way till 30 plus or wherever it is that you end up. But we appreciate you, and it's been a great run. Thanks for being our closeout SEL here. I think for our podcast series.
Yeah, depending on where it goes.
Yeah,
I think so. So
Awesome.
yeah, I don't think anyone has. If you look at people's careers, the impact you made in 1 year was immense.
Yeah, great.
I mean, with all the tangible wins y'all had over there. I mean, to close out, the command chief exec now, he got a step promotion from
Yeah, he
19th
did.
Air Force, and I know you were instrumental in making that happen. And this is a way to do a year at Altus, I think, and to go on bigger and better things. And hey, I know maybe next year she'll get an invite to the Legacy of the Spear as one of our strategic leaders.
Let's bring her back.
That'd be fantastic.
Come on back.
Absolutely,
Homecoming
absolutely.
Chief Jarvis, you're going to be missed. I remember when you walked in here to take your official photo right when you got here, and I was like, who the heck is this chief? Oh, Med Group Chief. She's awesome. Who is this person? And,
There you have it.
yeah, and every other interaction since then has just been awesome, And I know I'm talking from everybody when I say you're going to be missed, and you're always welcome back to Altus. So
Well, thank you.
yeah,
I appreciate that.
but thank you very much for coming on, for giving us your time, your wisdom. And all the stories that you had. And with that, I believe that's a wrap for episode 9.
Really?
Wow.
9.7.
9.7.
Now, that'll be episode 10.
Yeah, there we go. And with that, thanks everybody. Thanks command team. Thanks Chief Jarvis. I'm Airman Jantz. We're logging off. Thanks guys.
We'll see you, team. Thanks.
See ya.
Chief.
Thanks.